Perfect. So hello everyone, welcome to the ADAS stand at REAP. We're delighted to be here again, our second virtual event, fingers crossed, next year back in person. My name's Lizzie Sagoo, I'm a soil scientist at ADAS, and hopefully very soon I'll be rejoined by my colleague Dan Kindred, crop physiologist and head of agronomics at ADAS. So, bit of background first about the company. ADAS is the leading agricultural R&D and consultancy business in the UK. We have around 350 staff based across the UK, and we're part of the RSK group of companies. We work across multiple sectors. The ADAS soil crops and water business, of which I'm a part, includes groups working on crop physiology, soils and nutrients, crop protection, modelling informatics, and policy and economics. So ADAS applies digital solutions to challenges across the environmental, agricultural and rural sectors. We've produced a range of systems that apply crop production knowledge to practical farm management through decision support tools, downloadable software and web-based tools. So we're showcasing a number of these at REAP this year. So the things we wanted to focus on was the INNO-VEG project, which is a project that I'm leading, and also the various initiatives that Dan's been involved with, Farm PEP, Yen Nutrition, Yen Zero, etc. and Farm PEP. So we're going to kick off with my slide, which have been moved for the top, and hopefully by the time I finish those, Dan will be back with us. So the INNO-VEG project, it's a project that I lead. It's an EU project. It aims to increase the speed and uptake of innovation in the field veg and potato sectors. I can just see Dan back, so I'm just going to let him in. Hey, Dan.
Hi, sorry about that.
Not a problem. So I'm showing my slide set. Is that all right? And I'll click
through
yours.
Keep going.
Perfect. So the INNO-VEG project aims to increase speed and uptake of innovation in the field veg and potato sectors by developing innovative methods for carrying out research into field veg and potato crops. We've carried out experiments on a number of horticultural crops, including potatoes, brassicas, alliums, leafy salads, carrots, vining peas and cucurbits. And these have really looked at how we can use crop sensing data to carry out measurements in field experiments. We've used this information, data from these experiments, to develop a protocol for using crop sensing data in experiments, which you can see on the slide here. This document aims to provide clear and practical information for farmers, agronomists and researchers who want to use data from crop sensors to assess field veg and potato crops. And it's available to download from the project website, which you can see there. A key advantage of using crop sensing data to assess experiments is it's relatively quick and easy to use drone mounted or tractor mounted sensors to measure crop reflectance from larger whole field plots. And this importantly allows us to upscale from small plot to field scale plots. Last year and this year, 2020 and 2021, we set up larger field scale experiments on a number of vegetable and potato crops, where we applied treatments to larger areas, often working with host farmers and using farm machinery to apply the treatments. And then we use drone or tractor mounted sensors to collect crop reflectance data from the fields. And then we were able to use the spatial and statistical package, the agronomics analysis, which Dan will talk about, to analyze this field scale data. Results and experiences from these field scale experiments on these different crop groups. So when Dan comes on and talks to you, like the work that he's talking about is very much focused in the cereals and the oilseed sector. What I'm talking about now is sort of applying the same principles to vegetables and potatoes, so a bit different. We'll take these sort of learnings and experiences to develop what we're calling a framework for farmer-led research targeted specifically at these sectors. The project has also set up an innovation network. The overall aim to facilitate knowledge transfer and networking with a particular focus on the use of crop sensing in these sectors. It's a cross-border network with strong links to growers and researchers in France, Belgium, and the Netherlands. And I've just highlighted there project social media channels, so you can find out more information there or get in touch with me. So I'm now going to pass you back to Dan, who I'm very relieved has joined us again. Over to you, Dan.
Great, thanks, Lizzie. So I want to talk to you about the kind of what I think of as the farmer-centric work that we're doing, where we're actually looking to, rather than our traditional research model of doing small plot trials and what have you, we're actually generating data from farmers. And we do that in two ways. So the agronomics approach, which Lizzie's kind of talked about a bit in terms of experimentation on farm, but also with the INNs, where we're actually working with farmers in what we kind of think of as an action research kind of way, where actually we're collecting data from at a field scale and learning together with farmers, with advisors, with industry, with researchers around a question to tackle that and kind of gain understanding, share data, benchmark data, get to analysis and insight, so we can learn together and do that for a network. So we set these up with the INNs in 2012 on cereals. We've since grown to having across a whole range of crops now, and also for nutrition, the INN nutrition, which is actually where we have a sample service based on grain analysis, which was across all combinable crops, where we can compare and benchmark crops and to get that information about how your nutrition is comparing. And now we've just launched INN-0 as well. So rather than looking just at yield, looking at actually greenhouse gas intensities and how we can reduce inputs and maximize outputs. But we want to pull this together with what we're calling with Farm PEP now. So actually tackling it from any other, not just yield, but any question, essentially. I think the real strength of the INNs is that we connect with the whole industry. I mean, they only exist, and they really have only existed since 2012 when we started them, because of the generosity of industry sponsors, essentially. And there aren't many organisations or companies that we haven't worked with in the INN so far. And that goes through to INN-0 as well. Now that we're starting to get even further across the supply chain. We've added another 18 companies who are supporting INN-0 in its pilot's year there. Again, like I said, using this approach to get to net zero or aim towards net zero, at least for cropping and arable. So there's the INN approach, and then there's the agronomics approach. So the INN is at field scale. Agronomics, like Lizzie talked about, is where we've developed the statistics to be able to work with farmers using precision farming technologies to actually, so it's not moving, is it, on your screen? This is your slides, aren't you? Sorry, Lizzie.
They're my slides. Say next slide, Dan.
I'm looking at another screen, thinking that, yeah. So long list of sponsors. If you go to the next one, yeah. So agronomics. So where we develop the statistics to actually be able to apply tests that farmers can make in field, just by putting one treatment one half of the field, another treatment on the other half of the field, see. Like, just go back, Lizzie. I think there's a thing on that slide. Yeah, and we're now taking this forward. So we've had the stats for the processes for the last sort of 5 years that we've been delivering commercially. We now deliver about 200 line trials a year for various clients. So testing products on farm, testing practices, testing techniques with farmers in a real world situation. That's a commercial service that we have. What we want to get to, and what we can do now with these Farm PEP projects that we've now started, if you go to the next slide, Lizzie, is put that in the hands of farmers. And so we've been successful over the last year with 3 INNO-VEG projects, which have really helped us to put some real digital infrastructure behind the INN. Up until now, we've been very much working on a kind of a spreadsheet basis, and not particularly in a 21st century way. We're now starting to be able to do that. So the first project we got, which started about a year ago and was just for 6 months, enabled us to bring all of the INN data sets together, and then to enable what we call dynamic benchmarking, so that now users can log into the INN website and see their data and compare their data, but back not just to the whole data set, which we used to do in the reports we used to send, but now compared to people from the same soil type or in the same region or on the same crop type. We're then also developing this Farm PEP. So what we're a performance enhancement platform, essentially. So taking the approach that we've taken with Yen and Agronomics and applying that more broadly. The project there was around some COVID funding. So we did an initial study looking at the effect of the COVID has had on knowledge exchange, and really then going forward with that is actually what we need in terms of a digital solution to help to connect what is at the moment a very fragmented landscape. And now this last month, we've got a new Innovate project under the farming innovation pathways that's allowing us to really build this agronomics stuff into it, and build the farm trials toolbox, if you like, that we can make available to farmers, available to advisors, really energize. Well, really, you take forward the data exchange and the benchmarking that we can do with the Yen type approach. Okay, so if you go to the next slide, just to kind of go through that approach, Lizzie, I don't know if it's going to work. Yeah, if you just click through that. So this approach we have in the end, we think we can apply it to any network. We just keep going. There's lots of builds here. So, which is what we're thinking with Farm PEP, we're connecting the farmers, researchers, advisors, and industry around what we think of as these 4 pillars. So the first thing that we need to do is have a shared knowledge base, a shared understanding of any question. Then we have the data that we can share, which is driven by that shared understanding, that conceptual framework, and being able to then provide benchmarking through that. And then with the ideas, and actually sharing ideas, facilitating groups of people to come up with ideas and test them together. And then with the tests with Agronomics, being able to then have coordinated testing of ideas or practices across farms. And so that's really what we're looking to build with this Farm PEP approach. We go to the next slide. And the first part of that is what we've created at farmpep.net, which is really the knowledge exchange platform. And this is really being co-designed, and we're working with the wireframes as we speak, but really aiming to have this live in the next few weeks, or a month. The end of the project is in February, so we're looking to launch properly in the spring. But to bring together and connect people, organisations, projects in agriculture with knowledge, with topics, and so providing summaries of topics that connect people together. We're really looking to kind of start to get people engaged in this. We're not quite at the stage of it being something that you can actually play with, but getting your feedback in terms of the idea of how we develop this. And crucially, this kind of really needs to integrate with the What Works Centre that AHDB are developing, and that kind of real authoritative content that you'll get from What Works, but with what I think of as kind of more bottom-up, good enough content that we can kind of start with in Farm PEP. Okay, thank you. So that's really, do get in touch and do go to farmpep.net to see where we're up to. We're going through a whole design. We've been open, if you like, with the development of our thoughts on that, and really like your feedback.
Perfect, thanks, Dan. And we've put up our contact details there on the stand sort of below us. There's more information about all the things that Dan and I have spoken about, and all the links through to the various projects. I will just stop sharing my screen now. I can see, Dan, there's one question in the chat from Susanna you can probably pick up.
Yeah, the most significant learnings that come out of working with farmers through the Yens. I mean, that's a really good question. I mean, one of the things that we're finding when we analyse the data set from the Yens is this really big farm factor, and actually that there's differences between farms which aren't easily explicable by soil type or weather or any kind of simple agronomy. It's kind of about that kind of attention to detail. So I think one of the real challenges, if you like, for us as an industry is working out what it is that those farms are doing, what it is, and it might be psychological as much as it is technical, that really ends up making a big difference to performance.
So Dan, what do you think we'll be presenting this time next year? Where do you think you'll be?
What I hope is that we have a really successful Farm PEP website that lots of people are engaging with. The idea is to kind of make it like a permanent agricultural show, if you like, in that everybody can be there, everyone can be present, and we connect it by topics so that anybody, any community can develop around any topic. And I mean, lots of the kind of discussions, things that Tom Pearson, the people with questions has been putting in, some of the questions he's been asking, you think, well, actually, yeah, we can do that in Farm PEP. We have a mechanism by which around a topic we can have discussions. People can talk about what they're doing. People can like and rate and disagree and challenge what people are saying, and that we create a space where the knowledge can emerge. That's what we want to achieve. But we've got to address all the motivations of everybody who needs to be involved in that, because it won't work unless we can build a community around it.
So am I right? Is it just UK based at the moment?
Sorry?
Is it just UK based at the moment?
Yeah, and I think because I think ultimately it's the idea of, you know, it applies internationally, but as soon as we kind of bring international into it from the outset, I think it gets very complicated in terms of actually kind of losing that focus, because one of the big challenges going forward is going to be to maintain the focus and maintain the focus on what's really relevant, while still kind of having that access to everything that's out there, because there is so much that's out there. And the number of kind of organisations and initiatives that I've found out about in the last sort of 6 months, it's just amazing, you know, and I consider myself to be quite a well-connected person.
And just remind me, in terms of sort of sectors and crop types, what's your sort of ambition for it? Obviously, you work mostly in cereals and oilseeds. Is that where the focus is? What about?
Well, I mean,
what about
I think it needs to be. I think the key thing about this, and the realization I've come to about this, is that unless it addresses the whole industry, it won't succeed, because it just adds anything that isn't the whole industry is just going to be more fragmentation, because it's only a certain sector of the community that's going to be interested in it. And what we need is the thing that connects everybody, that everybody can feel some ownership of, and everyone can kind of create a space. And so we're hoping to create this, is, you know, around so arable, livestock, environment, soil, policy, ag tech. All of those could be high-level themes and topics, and so it's inclusive of everybody. But there's obviously lots of people and lots of organisations and lots of projects cover multiple organisations, and the important thing is to be able to make those connections across those topics.
Perfect. So you're going to create us a space for manures.
Manure, definitely, Lizzie. You can be in charge of that.
Perfect. I think we're sort of just over our time now. So I'm just looking. Something has flashed up from Susanna. It's just as about to draw us to a close. Yeah. So talking this morning in the keynote session about layering data at different spatial scales. What's your view of the most relevant scale for informing decision making on farms? Oh, good one.
I mean, that's a really good question, and I think, well, this is kind of pertinent with the whole nitrogen fertilizer debate at the moment. And to me, the most important question that you have as a farmer is, how much nitrogen do I buy for my farm? You know, that kind of farm scale is what the farmers are thinking about. You know, I've got to deal with first, if you like, before then you get to the kind of how much do I apply to each field, and then, you know, within each field should I vary it, and then when do I apply it? It's all kind of second questions, but they've all kind of, it's obviously all important, but it's yeah, I think that fact that we're seeing this consistent farm factor, this difference between farms, kind of, I think we need to understand much better that farm effect, that farm factor. There's not really any mechanisms other than the kind of ways that we're working to get at that.
It's a really interesting one. I know that's one you've raised a few times. We've spoken about in the past. There's almost sort of a solid sociology aspect to that, isn't it? What sort of your motivations and what it is about particular farmers. What are all those little things that they do differently that add up to have that sort of effect? And it probably is a combination of a number of different small things, isn't it, rather than being able to pinpoint one particular factor.
Absolutely.
So, Dan, have you got? I know it's always hard to keep you to time. You've done very well. Before we close, is there anything else that you wanted to sort of pick up on or say?
No, that's great, Lizzie. Well, just say, just we're here to get in touch with on the hop in or email us directly, whatever.
Perfect. Yeah, and thanks everyone for joining us, and please do get in contact. Thank you very much.